And now, a passage from the Book of Terre Haute, Our Matchless Transportation Facilities. How the railroads give Terre Haute easy access to nations' markets. The prosperous and financially solid institution of Good Manufacturers, Inc. closed their ledgers on the business of yesterday. Today, they are scanning the balance sheets in anticipation of the task of opening new ledgers on the business of tomorrow. The old ledgers revealed a story of industrial waste, and this waste consisted mainly in hauling raw materials hundreds of miles from their source and shipping the finished product other hundreds of miles to its market. The light of a new industrial condition had revealed the incongruity of this position, for this institution was located far from the center of distribution, and shipping costs entered very largely into its selling price. "We must discount the conditions of tomorrow," said the president of Good Manufacturers, Inc. "We must locate our plant nearer to the source of the raw material and nearer our market. Advancing freight rates are becoming too heavy a part of our selling price for us to compete successfully with those who are more advantageously located. We must locate in the city that is itself located near the raw material and near the center of distribution. That city must not only be well located, but it must have trunkline railroads reaching all the important distributing points of the country, and it must have terminal facilities of such ample size and such proper arrangement that we can bring into our plant our purchases and ship out of it our saleable goods with the least possible delay and the least congestion. That is the kind of city we must have." It is to such manufacturers that Terre Haute particularly commends itself, for this city is not only located at the center of population, but at the center of distribution also, close to the supply of raw material, and has railroad facilities unsurpassed by any city in the United States for prompt and expeditious shipments. The city is served by 5 different railroad companies, namely the Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis Railroad, the Cleveland, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis Railway, the Chicago and Eastern Illinois Railroad, the Chicago, Terre Haute, and Southeastern Railway, and the Evansville, Indianapolis, and Terre Haute Railroad, each separate mainline railroads, and one of them, the Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis Railroad, in addition to its main line, operates 2 additional lines. One from Terre Haute to South Bend, Indiana, a distance of 182 miles, and the other to Peoria, Illinois, a distance of 173 miles. The territory reached. The 5 railroad companies just mentioned operate a total of 14,627 miles of railway lines, which gives the city of Terre Haute the advantage of direct lines service to all points on these roads. A few of the more important nearby cities are as follows. Distance from Terre Haute: Chicago, Illinois, 178 miles. St. Louis, Missouri, 169 miles. Cincinnati, Ohio, 182 miles. Louisville, Kentucky, 164 miles. Indianapolis, Indiana, 72 miles. Peoria, Illinois, 173 miles. Cleveland, Ohio, 356 miles. Columbus, Ohio, 252 miles. South Bend, Indiana, 182 miles. Evansville, Indiana, 109 miles. An idea of the service extended to the city of Terre Haute may be gained by recital of some data of a general nature. The figures covering the combined operations of all of the roads during the year 1919, freight, exclusive of coal, shipped outbound from Terre Haute proper, was 1,653,799 tons. The amount of freight exclusive of coal shipped inbound for Terre Haute proper during the year 1919 was 1,323,375 tons. Coal handled inbound by the railroads for Terre Haute consumption during 1919 was 1,174,721 tons. Each of these railroads maintains local shops, the facilities of the Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis being much larger and rather of a general nature, which means that terminal delay to shipments in and out of Terre Haute on account of mechanical bad order of equipment is materially reduced. Including the shop forces, there are 5,385 men living in Terre Haute employed by the railroads, and the monthly payroll of these employees is $558,187. An idea of the train service is gained by knowledge of the fact that there is an average of 127 freight trains either inbound or outbound serving Terre Haute daily. The average number of passenger trains daily is 67. The inbound and outbound freight houses for the receipt and delivery of less than carload freight are conveniently located. The Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis Railroad Freight House and the Chicago and Eastern Illinois Railroad Freight House are centrally located with reference to the city as a whole, and also with reference to the principal wholesale district. The joint Cleveland, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis Railway, Evansville, Indianapolis, and Terre Haute Railroad Freight House is in the northwest, and the Chicago, Terre Haute, and Southeastern Railway Freight House is in the southeast part of the city. The terminal yards of the Terre Haute railroads are advantageously located with reference to one another and to the industries of the city, and the terminal service is recognized as being of the very best. The combined car capacity of the terminals of all roads is 8,250 cars. On an average, there are 61 switch engines in every 24 hours, each engine working an 8-hour shift, and on an average, these engines handle a total of 5,310 cars daily. Each railroad delivers cars direct to and receives cars from each industry located on its tracks, and each railroad also delivers cars in interchange direct to each of the other railroads. There is no intermediate switching. This is an important point and explains in no small degree the prompt terminal handling at Terre Haute. The terminal delay on an average is 12 hours with each road for cars which it handles in or out over its own railroad to or from its own tracks, and 24 hours terminal delay on an average for cars which require interchange handling within or through the Terre Haute terminal. There are very many desirable industrial locations available on any one of the Terre Haute railroads within the city, many of which are centrally located, and as the railroads diverge from the city limits in all directions, any number of desirable industrial sites may be secured within reasonable distance from the city. The Chicago, Terre Haute, and Southeastern Railway operates a belt line, which practically surrounds the city on the south, the east, and the north, the Wabash River being the western boundary of the city. This belt line has approximately 15 miles of track, passing through a territory adjoining the present city limits, which provides a very large number of most desirable industrial locations. The trolley lines. By trolley, the city is hardly less capably served than by the steam roads. There are 4 interurban lines into the city, one from Clinton, Indiana on the north, one from Paris, Illinois on the west, one from Sullivan, Indiana on the south, and a line running east directly through Brazil and Greencastle to Indianapolis, where connection is made with other lines reaching other Indiana parts. The part of this interurban trackage embraced in the Terre Haute division comprises about 80 miles. On these lines, there are brought into the city every day 73 passenger trains and the same number sent out. These passenger trains all carry express shipments and a certain amount of local freight. Also, there are brought into and sent out of the city daily 16 regularly scheduled freight trains which make overnight deliveries of local shipments. The passenger trains handle about 8,000 people into and out of the city every day. The street railway trackage of the city comprises about 30 miles on which is operated about 50 new Birney safety cars, giving the city the most frequent car service enjoyed by any city of its class in the country. These streetcar lines carry annually more than 15 million passengers and reach adequately every portion of the city. It is a fact worthy of note that the Terre Haute street railway system has become a model for scores of other cities, and many European street railway operators have in the past year come here to examine the workings of a system which has been developed to the point of worldwide interest in 2 years through the management of E. M. Walker.